Tonight, echoes. Tonight we have a loud spring going on. That was cool. You know, you did sound effects.
I won't charge no extra for that.
You want to charge me extra for that? Give Kelly the bill. Where's Kelly? Tonight we have Florida State Representative. As most of you know, redistricting has realigned who our representatives are for the state of Florida. And so Matt Gates will no longer, this election cycle, be our representative. And it'll be up to new folks. We also have the Board of County Commissioners. I think there's 7 folks in that particular cluster. So that's going to be probably our longest challenge. We'll probably take a break. Is Board of County Commissioners after State Representative? We'll figure out a break. Last night we finished up at about 8 o'clock. I expect to sort of do the same thing unless the commissioner part of it runs long. We do not have anybody here tonight from the Florida Senate for that race. And we have one individual here from the United States House of Representatives. So basically it's just going to be local folks other than the one for the national. So we'll get started. And let's see, restrooms are, there's one over here, right there, where Donna's pointing. And then there's one all the way down the other end of the corridor past the cafeteria. Exits are there, and then there's one outside in case, you know, lightning strikes. Give me something hard to knock on. Where, Angel? And then,
should have told me.
please silence your cell phones. Had a couple of cell phones go off last night, so it was a little bit distracting. I know it wasn't you, wherever you are. Where are you?
I'm right here.
There you are.
And it wasn't me.
It was his hearing aid.
It was his hearing aid going. So with that, if we could get Jerry Williamson and Mr. Doug Broxson up to the front, we'll get started. Wendell, is that just because I was over in front of the speakers? Okay.
Which mic?
There's no lottery ticket under any one of them, so just pick one. Oh. Hey, Morris. Morris is our official timekeeper, Morris Frazier with Pet Perks. And he's got the cards there in front of him. And as you get down to your time, each response, you'll have a 1 minute to respond to the questions. You'll get 1 minute for introducing before we get started with the questions. And then once the red light says stop, you're kind of done. Fair enough? Fair enough. Okay. Get my glasses because I'm old now. You know, when I started this job, I didn't have to wear glasses. All right, we have, and I say, wait, these questions didn't come from me. That's not a disclaimer, it's just they didn't come from me. They came from chamber members and they came from the public that responded to the chamber's request for questions. And then there was a random drawing by hat draw on who got to answer the questions first in the order. And the honor goes to Jerry Williamson for the first response, and then we'll go that sequential order as we go through it. So Jay, job creation is, can I call you guys by your first name, is that all right?
Absolutely.
Last names confuse me. Job creation is a central theme for economic recovery. What would you do as far as incentives for businesses to relocate to Northwest Florida, and specifically Navarre?
You don't want to. I
thought we were going to have introductions first.
Want to do intro first?
I'm sorry. This is only my second night doing this. Jair, 1 minute, introduce yourself.
My name is Jair Williamson. I'm an electrical contractor and part owner of Williamson Electric in Milton. I was very blessed when I graduated from the University of West Florida in 2002 that I had a family business to go into. I started out as an electrician in the field, moved my way up to running my own crew, and then moved into the office where I'm vice president and CEO today. Throughout that work career, I met my wife, Lindsay. She showed up on my doorsteps, and we were engaged in 3 months and married 2 months later. So the moral of that story is I like to get to work fast, which will be beneficial for you. I'm very proud to be here in the Navarre area and be in front of the Navarre Chamber of Commerce. A feather in my cap, so to speak, and something I'm very proud of is starting up the Santa Rosa Young Professionals. And Navarre was instrumental in that. The Navarre emerging leaders, they said, you know, we can We have different differences between the north and the south end of this community, which I'm a north ender from Milton. But what we're going to do is we're going to always agree to work together to make Santa Rosa County a better place. That's the attitude I had 5 years ago. That's the attitude I'll have when I go in the State House this year for you. And thank you for having me here.
Thank you. I'm Doug Bronson. I know many of you. You know, you chose, just like I did, to stay here. Many of you could be any place in the world, but you chose here. We're unique. There's nothing like the Panhandle. As I go to Tallahassee and I see people come from Miami and Tampa and Orlando, I really don't think they understand how unique the Panhandle is. We have a chance to do things right. Many of these areas have done it wrong. They've overbuilt, they've overpopulated, but we have the greatest asset, and that's land and great people. It's my honor for the last 2 years to serve you. Believe me, there's a lot of issues that we're going to have to tackle soon, and I'm ready to do that as I have for the last 2 years. Thank you for all the thank you notes and cards that you've sent me for the last 2 years, and I promise to continue that service.
Okay, Ralph said I can ask questions now. Jared, job creation is a central theme for economic recovery. What would you do as far as incentives for businesses to relocate to Northwest Florida and specifically Navarre?
One thing that I've talked a lot about on the campaign trail is that I would like to see an incentive-based package set up for the counties that border the state of Alabama. They do it in other parts of the state where it's a little more specific, where we would not fall under Florida's one-size-fits-all economic development plan. I'd like to work hand in hand with the rest of the delegation to come up with some specific needs for Northwest Florida. And I also think that we should be looking at Alabama not only as a competitor, but also if they're bringing in Airbus or they're bringing in a car plant, we need to have people that are doing research to every single part that goes into that plane or every single part that goes into that vehicle, where we can manufacture it here in Northwest Florida, send it I-10 to 65 and up the state through Alabama.
Doug, you need me to repeat the question?
I went to the Airbus announcement, and I met the president of Airbus, and I reminded him that there is not a richer place in the Gulf Coast to find qualified people to work than here. We have great land. We're working with the governor on making sure that we soften up the regulations so that we are more competitive with Alabama. One thing we must do is create a way in which we attract these people. I'm very, very concerned right now that, and I don't know all the politics of Team Santa Rosa, but I know that that was our glove to catch the opportunities. We've got to work with Escambia, Santa Rosa, and Okaloosa to create an effective way to make sure that people see the quality of not only locations, but people that we have here. If we do that, and we do it together, and if you help me do that, we will see more jobs.
And Doug, I got a cue from the back. They can't quite hear you, so when you're talking, if you could mic
Okay.
up a little bit, please.
Can I turn his volume up?
That's fine. I'll hold it closer.
Okay. Jair, Florida business owners say that it is hugely unfair and that their prices include sales tax, while out-of-state companies can sell the same item cheaper online. Your opinion?
The only way that you're talking about the internet sales tax, the only way that I would support that is if we had something that was revenue neutral, where we had a tax break and some other way. I would not want to raise taxes by any means, but I can see how the business would say that they're at a 6% disadvantage to outside company that gets set up right outside of the state. And I would look at that and be glad to look at that, but only if we had a revenue neutral where we cut taxes somewhere.
I received the endorsement of the Florida Chamber. The Florida Chamber is a protected body of businesses in Florida. We have a competition, almost a hidden competition, and that's electronics. You can take your cell phone, go in and scan a product, and within 24 hours have that product delivered to your doorstep with no taxes. Now let me ask you, is that fair taxes? Absolutely not. If a person, the law simply states today that every item that you buy, whether it's at a store or over the internet, you pay sales tax. You know, the only people that pay sales tax on the internet is the people that are employed by the Department of Revenue. We have to create a fairness. Otherwise, your businesses that are paying property taxes here that are putting kids in school will not be here because they will be put out of business by the internet.
And Doug, this question will flip the rotation, so give equal opportunity. Homeowners insurance rates continue to rise, even on homes that have come up to current wind mitigation standards. Your solution to this, what would be your solution to this issue for residents?
Well, we have the largest property insurance company in the United States that's owned by you. Congratulations. And that's Citizens. Citizens has a structure which cannot be defended. In the last 3 years, they've spent $1 billion for sinkhole coverage in Middle Florida. That took away the reserve they would have for hurricanes for the coming year. What we're having is that we're seeing that Citizens is taking a larger share of the market, and we have to do something to depopulate that, to encourage other free enterprise companies to come into Florida and to be competitive so that our homeowners' rates will be real rates and not artificial rates supported by Citizens.
I would support the depopulation of Citizens Insurance, but also the key thing is the people that leave Citizens Insurance, we need to make sure that they're going into a market where it has, they have some regulation, because there was a depopulation bill that was put out last year, and it was going to take people out of Citizens and put them into other insurance companies where they wouldn't have a safe haven, where those insurance companies could go bankrupt. And I don't think that that's good consumer rights, and I'm definitely going to be for consumer rights. It does need to be depopulated, but we need to make sure that it goes into a safe place, and those people and their insurance goes into a safe place, because it's you that are going to have the burden if it goes into an unregulated insurance company that goes belly up, and then you're stuck with everything. So that's what we don't want to happen. I'm a firm believer in consumer rights and protecting the people of my community.
And this one to Doug. What are your main priorities for Restore Recovery Act projects for Northwest Florida?
Well, one is I spoke to the 8-county coalition this past week, and I reminded them that it was not a lottery. We're going to have up to $2 billion come to the Panhandle. The temptation for many of the people that will speak after me is to take that money and to use it to supplement budgets. That is not the purpose of that money. That money is to be used for economic development, to put in trust funds, to create a way that our economy is protected for generations, so that our grandkids will see the effect of that. If we wake up in 5 years and we've spent that money and have nothing to show for it, we ought to be ashamed of ourselves. And I'll tell you this, I'm going to do everything within my power to make sure that that money is properly spent and that it does go into tranches that create good jobs. It does attract people from Mobile and Airbus and all the other things that's going to be coming this way as a result of their Restore money in Alabama.
First of all, I think that it needs to go, some of that money needs to go to restoring our natural beauties here in the area that have been affected by BP. I also believe that money has to be used for the future generation and to look down the road 20 and 30 years from now, not what's going to be a quick fix just for the next year. And another thing is that the counties, I think the counties should have more say-so on the control of that money, because you guys can get to these county officials. You can get right in front of them, and you can twist their arms. Now the commissioner's going to be looking at me, but you can really hold their feet to the fire. It doesn't need to be Tallahassee deciding what's going on. It needs to be you, the people, talking with the commissions in the local counties.
All right, Jair.
Yes, sir.
In 2012, the texting while driving bill failed. Florida remains one of only 11 states without a ban on text messaging by all drivers. Our question is, what is your stance on this type of bill?
I think there has to be something with text messaging, Facebooking, all that while driving, and we need to have recourse that if there's accidents that are caused that are due to texting, then there needs to be some type punishment for it, because it's something that's very crucial to keeping our highways safe, and we definitely need to get a hand on it.
This came before our committee, our transportation committee this year about texting, and it's a very controversial issue. The issue is simply this: do you take another right away from our citizens? Does Tallahassee have the right to tell you what to do. If you agree with that, if you think government should be involved in every aspect of your life, then there's a lot more than just texting that we can put on you. We're going to have the technology in the next 5 years where you cannot text and drive. That's the answer. Not the government, but let free enterprise come up with a solution that makes sense.
Jared, almost every year the subject of offshore drilling off the coast of Florida comes up. Many claim it would bring jobs and revenue to the local economy and the state's coffers. Others claim it would harm our beautiful beaches, similar to the 2010 BP oil spill. The BP spill has enlightened officials on tighter inspection controls criteria, including oil rig safety. Also, oil companies are currently exploring Blackwater River State Forest in Santa Rosa County. What is your stance on offshore drilling in Florida and Blackwater?
I would much rather be drilling on land than in the Gulf. That's just my personal opinion. But as you can see, that with the BP oil spill, that we had the bad things that happened to our beaches, and we suffered the consequences of oil drilling, yet we didn't get any of the revenues from it because it was done in a state that was next to us. So I think that I'm not in support of drilling immediately offshore, but I would like to explore other revenues because we're going to have to do something to get our energy under control.
I don't know of anyone here that rode their bicycle. Anyone here ride their bicycle here? Got one. Fact is that we have to do our part in Florida to meet our energy needs. We're in the oil drilling business. Unfortunately, it's Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas that gets all the revenue. Did you know Texas last year got $20 billion just from oil revenue? Florida got less than $500,000, and most of that came from Santa Rosa County. We've got to be safe and protect our beaches, but the fact is, if you go to Alabama and you take a cruise ship out of the port, you'll see hundreds of oil wells, and those are going to come on our beaches. If we can make it safe, and we're doing a better job of that, we should be able to explore and do our part to meet our energy needs so that we don't have to depend on foreign oil.
Doug, what do you consider to be the pros and cons of Navarre Incorporation, and do you intend to proactively support it?
I'm going to support what the people want to do. If this subject is vetted and all the pros and cons are presented to the people, and they choose to either vote it up or vote it down, I'll be for whatever they want to do. The fact is that there are pros. In this coalition that we went to this week, there was every county there, every administrator there, all the cities were there. You know who was not there? Navarre. Now, who's going to stand in for Navarre? And I know the commission is going to do their part to make sure that Navarre gets their portion. But who's going to stand in for Navarre and make sure that they're treated properly? Gulf Breeze is going to get a significant amount of money. My proposal, and I'll say it to the commission today, whatever Gulf Breeze gets, Navarre should get. Because if we're going to divide the money, make sure that the people that were affected get the monies first.
Within corporation, I've been, talking to many people in the Navarre area, and first of all, I don't like any more government. I don't want a second line of government for the Navarre community. But if the people of Navarre, 50% plus one vote of the area that's going to be infected by incorporation, decide that's what they want to do as a state representative, I will do what I'm supposed to do. But it has to be the will of the people of this community. There are good things about incorporation. You have a smaller or more localized government that you can get to and maybe make things happen for your community, but it has to be the will of the people of the Navarre community and the area that's going to be infected by incorporation that's going to be paying those taxes. But this is a huge, huge process they're going through, and this decision is not something that should be taken lightly. Ask question after question about the way that this is going to, incorporation is going to take place in Navarre, because this isn't something that can just be changed overnight. This affects the history for the next 30, 40, 50 years of this community.
I think I gave Doug the first one, the last one, didn't I? Jay, due to recent events, do you favor tighter gun control regulations? and specifically assault-type weapons?
I do not. I am a firm believer of our Second Amendment right, and I believe that gun control controls one person, and that's the law-abiding citizen. I'm very proud to have an A rating from the NRA, and I'm very proud to stand up for our Second Amendment rights and defend them anytime.
Absolutely. I believe wholeheartedly in the Second Amendment. I was concerned, as many of the people that are in this audience, that the noise ordinance that was imposed by the county, which I think all but one Commissioner Gooden voted against, was not really about gun control. It was about a neighbor who felt that he could make noise 24 hours a day with AK-47s and 50 caliber guns. Now, it was a neighbor issue. It was the 11th Amendment of the Bible to be courteous and considerate of your neighbor. I will stand, and I've told the NRA and I've told all the leaders that I will stand firmly for the rights to bear guns in this country.
Doug, in 2009, there was a more concerted effort on realizing the goal of a bypass of Highway 98, which is increasingly becoming more and more congested. We applaud the efforts and progress on widening Highway 98, but due to sidetracks and salamanders, wetlands, controlled burns, etc., the bypass project seemed to have faded. What would you do to bring it back to life, or is it just another faded out lost project?
2 weeks ago, I met with the Florida Department of Transportation Secretary, Annette Facade, and reminded him that we have a increasingly grave problem from here to Gulf Breeze. He's committed to me to make sure that they have every technology, every road, every slowdown area that we can possibly create to make sure that people are safe when they enter Highway 98. It is a problem. They call it Deadly 98 because it is deadly. Unfortunately, the concept of a bypass is going to be something that the people in this room will not be willing to pay because it will cost billions and billions of dollars. We've got to find a way to make Highway 98 safer, with more slowdown areas, with turnaround areas, have things that make sense. If we do that and we have a responsible public that abides by the law, we will have a safer 98.
As more and more people move to Navarre and move to this area because they see how beautiful it is and how wonderful it is to live, 98 is going to do nothing but get more congested. This is an issue that we're going to have to take on right now to work for 10 and 20 years down the road. I don't think that a bypass or an alternate 98 is something we need to give up on. I realize there's not money there, but I think that we need to have a plan in place, whether it be an alternate 98 through the reservation. I know the Salamander stopped at once, but if there's something that we could do to reroute, or there's been elevated 98 before, whatever way we decide to do it, we need to have a plan in place so when the funding, there is funding that comes down that goes to Miami and goes to Orlando a lot of times. So let's fight for that and let's try to bring it here to Navarre for an alternate 98.
Jair, how will the recent Supreme Court action on Arizona's immigration law have an effect on immigration laws being proposed for Florida, and do you favor the E-Verify clause?
I do favor E-Verify, and I believe that that we've got to take control of immigration. I'm glad that we have people that can come into this country. We live in the greatest country in the world. They want to be here, and there is a right way to do it, and that's legal immigration. And there is legal immigration, and it happens every day. But illegal immigration is a problem because we're going bankrupt because of it. And I know that doesn't, I don't want to sound like I don't have a heart or anything, but we've got to take care of the people, the law-abiding citizens of this community, and take care of the people that have come in to this country the proper way. And the businesses also need to be held responsible, the ones that knowingly hire illegal work, because it puts the people that do work and hire legally in a disadvantage because they're hiring and paying a legal wage, and they're at a disadvantage when they're going against a company in a bidding process that has illegal wages.
I think we all know that Arizona, we were applauding Arizona because they realized that the federal government was not doing what they were asked to do. There's enough laws on the books now to control immigration. We simply are not doing it. And that comes, unfortunately, from the highest office in this land, from the President of the United States, who de facto has made a decision that we're going to have unlimited immigration. It's a problem for Florida, primarily in the south part of Florida. It's going to be a problem for us. And we've got to create a way, we've got to work with our federal partners, Jeff Miller and Marco Rubio, to make sure that we have a fairness doctrine, but we have a firm doctrine. And we communicate that directly back to Washington and tell them if they don't do it, they'll have to take us to court and sue us like they did Arizona.
Doug, explain your views regarding the pros and cons of Amendment 4 and whether or not you intend to support it.
I do intend to support it. Amendment 4, do you understand what that is? Currently, there is a cap, a mandatory cap placed on primarily commercial and non-residential property. Whether that property goes up in value or down in value, there's a 10% increase. That's simply not fair. And what that does is it discourages people from expanding their businesses and doing things that will grow this economy. I believe that the people, it's going to be a constitutional amendment, are going to pass that because they understand the fairness of it. And when they do that, the legislature will impose it. We'll learn to live with those restrictions and the reduced income it calls for the counties. But it's a fairness doctrine, and I stand for fairness.
I agree that it is a fairness issue, and it's also an issue that if passed, it'll allow business to be able to expand, and I'm anything for pro-business, so yes.
All right, gentlemen, last question. Jair, this one goes to you.
Yes, sir.
The debate over school vouchers has drifted from school choice to a discussion about subsidizing private schools and the separation of church and state. School choice is about one issue. Who should have the right to determine where a child goes to school, the parents or the government? Your opinion?
I think the parents have the choice to decide where they want to send their children to school. But also with the voucher system, and the Florida Supreme Court said that a true voucher system is unconstitutional. I believe that if you have a failing school and that the school is underperforming, that you should be able to take your children out and send them where they want to. And also people with ESE children, they need to have the rights and they need to have the parental choice to send them to a proper school.
I'm going to tell you a little known secret. Do you know who uses vouchers? Underprivileged children, people that live in inner city. We have got to create a way that a person who is stuck in a school where there's not learning has an option to get out. What it will do is reduce crimes and give these kids an opportunity. It's not for the rich white kids, as many would lead you to believe. It's for people that have limited opportunity and need a way out. Vouchers make sense. They work. The studies have come back that show that they work, and we need to have vouchers. We need to protect our public schools, but believe me, this school here does not need to be protected. You won't see many people asking for vouchers here because we're a performing county that's doing what's right. You go to Escambia, and they need more vouchers. Many of the areas, the urban areas and the blight areas in Florida have to have vouchers in order to equalize education.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. We appreciate your responses, and good luck to you.
Do these mics work?
Because you get like this.
Well, one of the main reasons why I took and ran for office this year was mainly because of what I was seeing going on in Congress. We had grown men who were literally acting like children, fighting over a bone. And I felt enough was enough. And the very next day I called supervisor of elections, called my party, and by the end of the week I was on the roster of active candidates. I think that all of us should have representation of who we are. Not necessarily if it's the richest or the poorest, but everyone needs to have a say. With what they were doing in Congress, you know that they were going toward more of the higher bracket of everyone's earning. And When that happens, it really does not help the whole population. It just helps a very few. And that's the main reason why I took and started to run. If you'd like to ask questions.
We as a group decided some questions that we wanted to ask every candidate, and then we had some filler questions, and there was only 3 or 4 of the mandatory questions, so if you've got time,
That's fine.
We'll run through those real quick.
No problem.
Same 1-minute response rule for time.
Understood.
While the threat is real and sequestration, there it is, cuts to DoD will likely happen as planned, the basic political strategy appears to be to avoid making any cuts or take action this year. What cuts would you or wouldn't you support?
Well, for one, we need to take and bring our military home. We don't need to be the police force for the world. Yes, there's humanitarian concerns that need to be taken care of, but think of all the humanitarian concerns that we need to take on right here. We need to be able to take care of our people. We shouldn't be taking and funding the reconstruction of other countries when we need to reconstruct our own. We need to make sure that people here have jobs, have good schools to go to, good roads to drive on, and are safe. With unemployment, you get more crime. So let's just get everyone back to work and do it now.
With the rising cost of petroleum and natural gas, Congress is looking at the Gulf of Mexico as the nation's future energy supply. Also drilling the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, which is currently one of the most promising U.S. onshore oil and gas exploration and development prospects. It's also noted that the United States, according to Geological Survey, has almost equal to Saudi Arabia's oil potential. Your opinion on drilling offshore in Florida waters and the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge?
Well, right now, we actually export more oil than we take in, according to figures. So if we stop those exports and use them ourselves, then we really wouldn't have to take and start sinking more drills down into the ground that could cause environmental concerns. If we mess up our environment, then that's going to ruin our tourism. We need to take and make sure that, yes, people have jobs, people have the petroleum that they need, but not at the expense of destroying our nation.
Federal gun control is a widely debated topic on Capitol Hill and is consistently a target of pro and anti-gun control activist groups. Your stance on gun control?
A well-armed society is a polite society. Now, that doesn't necessarily include military-grade weaponry, but I don't see any reason why any civilian should not be able to have a firearm to be able to protect himself and his family.
Last question. In light of September 11 attacks, the need for immigration reform has become the forefront of national security. It is estimated that there are nearly 12 million illegal immigrants currently residing within our borders. What measures would you support to effectively solve the problem?
If you can't prove you live here legally, then you shouldn't be allowed to be paid. You don't pay them, they leave.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, and I hope that this November you'll take and write me in. William Cleve Drummond II. Thank you.
Next, we will get the Board of County Commissioners races up here. So give us just a few minutes to reconfigure the mics and pads and all that stuff. It's a little snug. We hope y'all all like each other.
Hold this. Put this in your purse. Put this in your purse.
You couldn't have playing last night on milk. He was. I could sit. I see the ladies behind me. You know, he's only supposed to come here I can't. If I change next time I can go.
And did Charles Miller make it tonight? No? Marvin Fowler wanted us to make sure that we announced he was unable to make it tonight. He's on a church mission trip, so he won't be joining us for tonight's forum. Good evening, gentlemen. The school board only had half as many. All right. Pretty much the same rules as before. Everybody sees Morris. He has the red stop sign, so when your minute's up, if you could please honor that for the sake of time, that'd be great. The sheriff's candidates yesterday had a little bit of a problem with some California stops, but Wendell kept them in check. The order, if y'all want to write this down on your pads, as far as introductions, and then I've got a matrix over here, since there's so many of you, of the order of the questions as we go through it. Thanks for thinking of that, Kelly. Let's see, J.Ed Carson, you'll be the first one to do your intro, and then it will be Thomas Franklin Stewart, and then it'll be Jim Williamson, and then let's see, it'll be Lane Lynchard, then Pete Sutherland, and then Jeffrey Kelly, and then Mark Cotton, and then Don Salter. So just like in school, when you're the next number, you know who you are. So with the 1 minute introductions, we will begin with J.Ed Carson.
Yell it past me.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're not. I preferred. It's on. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I prefer to stand up, if that's all right, Mr. Moderator.
it's off again.
It's off again?
Hey, Ron.
Thank you, Ron.
Stand, don't move.
Okay. All right.
There you go.
My name is Ed Carson, and I'm seeking the office of Santa Rosa County District 3 County Commission. I'm a married man with 3 children. I'm a graduate of the University of Florida. Go Gators. I have 3 children, as I said, and my youngest is a junior at the University of Florida. I've been very active in the community for the past 20 years. I've served on a number of community and civic and professional boards. I've received a number of awards for my activities on these boards, both locally and nationally. I'm also a 25-year small business owner. I'm in the general contracting business. I'm a commercial general contractor. I would like to do several things if I were to be elected to the commission. One is, I think we need to get our economic development arm in order quickly, and I better speak quickly because I have 10 seconds. EdCarson2012.com or Facebook. I appreciate it. Wow, that minute.
I'm Tom Stewart. I'm a retired Army Major, served 26 years in the Army. I'm a small business owner. I'm married to Myra, who's back in the room. I used to call her the big boss, but after 2 licks upside the left ear with a cast iron frying pan, she's simply the boss. We've got 2 grown sons. I'm an active member of Olive Baptist Church, and I served here as the District 1 Commissioner from 2004 to 2008. That was a pretty tough time in this county because about 15 days after I won the election by 6 votes, Hurricane Ivan came to visit us. We had tough decisions, and more tough decisions, but we got back to the good quality of life we expected. Thank you.
I'm Jim Williamson, your District 1 County Commissioner. My wife Paulette and I reside at 4351 Berry Hill Road in Pace, where we've lived for the last 24 years. We're active members of the Emmanuel Baptist Church in Pace. I've owned and operated the Williamson Electrical Company on Avalon Boulevard for the past 36 years. The District 1 County Commission race is about you choosing who you want to manage your tax dollars for the next 4 years. For the past 3 years, in these tough economic times, Santa Rosa County has balanced its budget without an increase in taxes. We've made the necessary cuts. We've lived within our means just like you and I do in our daily lives. My only promise to you has been to be fair and work for the best interests of you, the taxpayer, not special interests. Please keep proven, conservative, common sense leadership working for you. Vote for Jim Williamson, District 1 County Commissioner. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lane Lynchard, and I'm your current District 5 County Commissioner. Thank you for inviting us to speak tonight. I live in Gulf Breeze, worked in Navarre for the past 12 years, practiced law here. My wife Lori and I have been married for 11 years. We live in Tiger Point with our 8-year-old son Brian. Over the last 4 years, I've tried to bring common sense to growth and development issues, budget issues, and quality of life issues. I've worked to improve safety on 98, and we're seeing results of that with new signals and bike lanes starting in the fall. I spearheaded the move to franchise trash hauling in the south end of the county, and now we pay less than any other area in the county for more services, saving our residents over $1 million per year. I pushed for a new community center in the south end of the county, where we can hold commission meetings when we have issues that affect us, and construction is going to begin this fall. I was awarded the 2012 Presidential Advocacy Award by the Florida Association of Counties for my work on the Restore Act. My decision to run for county commissioner 4 years ago was based on my belief that I could make a positive difference in the county. I think I've done that. I ask for your support and vote on August 14th.
That was a rolling stop lane.
My name is Pete Sullivan. I live in downtown Gulf Breeze. I'm a 36-year resident of District 5. My wife, Pat, she opened up this library that you're sitting in right now when the school first opened. I have been involved in the community. Served Gulf Breeze City Council and was Mayor Pro Tem back in the late 70s. And I have served the county through the Board of Adjustments and Appeals for the past 15 years. I have done numerous mission trips with Gulf Breeze United Methodist Church. The list goes on about me wanting to give back to the community, and I'm asking you to help me give back again to Santa Rosa County. I just would appreciate your vote on August 14th. Santa Rosa County Commissioner, District 5.
I had Kelly. I wrote Kelly down. Oh, I'm sorry, Kelly. I'm ahead of you. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior for this opportunity to be able to speak to you tonight. And then let me personally introduce myself. I'm Jeffrey D. Kelly, candidate for Santa Rosa County Commissioner, District 3. I am 42 years young, I'd like to say. Been married to the same woman, my beautiful wife sitting back here with me tonight, for 22 years. I have 2 children. One is a daughter named Kennedy, who's 16, just started driving. One is a son named Parker, and he is 11 years old. They both attend West Florida Baptist Academy. And my family and I, we live in between a community in between Shamonkla and Jay called New York. And we're members of Tabernacle Baptist Church. My wife and I, we own 7 businesses in Santa Rosa County and 3 in neighboring Alabama. And I'm all about family. I'm a family man, and I love business. I strive to excel. I'm a leader, a motivator, and encourager. I have the ability to lead large groups, be efficient, and be effective. I've had employed as many as 125 men and women. And the bottom line is I got the ability to do the job for Santa Rosa County the next 4 years.
Him too. You're looking at me, Lane. I saw you.
Good evening. Thank you for being here. My name is Mark Cotton, 48 years old, Santa Rosa County native. My wife, Cindy, is usually with me. She's got VBS tonight, but my middle daughter and my youngest granddaughter are in the back of the room. They live in Holly by the Sea. Although I'm running for the District 1 seat, I spent the first 24 years of my life down here. My daughter and granddaughter, son-in-law live here now. I believe I have quite an interest in this end of the county as well. And I didn't move to the north end of the county because I didn't like this end. I moved to across the bay because I like my wife better, and that's where she was. And I've been in real estate business for 28 years in this county, electrical contracting business as well. Worked with thousands of people, negotiating problems and needs, gotten pretty good at that. I spent 13 years on the Board of Adjustments, same thing there. Not everything fits in the county code book, and we were able to resolve a whole lot of problems for thousands of people in 13 years. Thank you.
Good evening. I want to thank the Navarre Chamber for hosting us tonight. I'm Don Salter, Santa Rosa County Commissioner, District 3, and I've had the honor to serve you for the last 12 years. And I'm going to ask for your continued support for one more term. I'm from a little area called Chumuckla, Florida. I have my wife, Kay, with me tonight. We've been married for 42 years, retired Gulf Power Company. Very proud to be able to say that I'm a Vietnam veteran and I proudly serve my country. Retired Gulf Power Company. Many times I worked closely with people in Navarre after Hurricane Opal to help y'all rebuild your community. Had the same opportunity to do the same thing. I was chairman of the board Hurricane Ivan. I've worked diligently to bring jobs to Santa Rosa County. More importantly, I work extremely hard to keep our military bases here and grow those military bases. And I love working with our veterans and make sure they're well taken care of. I would appreciate your continued support in the upcoming primary. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. And also, just in case this is your first candidate forum and you're not familiar with how the Board of County Commissioners kind of works, all of our county commissioners are at-large commissioners. So District 4, which is where Navarre falls under, is our representative on the commission is Jim Melvin, but all county commissioners have input into all things Navarre as they do the rest of the county. Is everybody okay if I use your first name? Because misters are a little tongue-tied. All right, here we go. This first question starts with Ed. There's been significant debate over what Navarre Beach improvements are necessary. Do you think any are necessary? And if so, what are they?
Can I defer to Mark? I'm just kidding. The biggest problem I've heard about that y'all are facing is with the renourishment, and I guess a $10 million price tag associated with that. Something that perhaps some of the BP money can be used on, maybe not, but it's something that needs to be planned for the future, because this isn't going to be the first time or the last time that it's going to need to be renourished. And of course the incorporation issue is going pretty strong right now too. I would support the will of the people. I think the people need to know what benefits they're going to derive from incorporation, number one, and number two, what is it going to cost? So those are two of the main questions and problems I've heard of lately. Thank you.
And as we go through these, since there's a big panel, if anybody needs me to repeat a question, and some of these are two-part questions, that's why you got notepads, feel free to ask me to do that. Mark, you would be next.
I think obviously the beach renourishment is important. I think a reserve for that in the future. I don't think FEMA will, as we were treated after our storms in 04 and 05, I think they will treat us much differently next time based on need. I think more family entertainment opportunities out there, and that as a result of what the community wants. And you know, I think we've seen some of the concession issues and that sort of thing addressed recently. Perhaps some of the Restore money, the Restore Act money, can be also held in reserve for some issues that will undoubtedly arise out there in the future. And one last thing, I've still got a 30-second ticker up. I've heard several times, and we all, most of us, I think, know and miss maybe the Holodome that was there. And I think a hotel out there at some point in time would be advantageous as well.
Jeffrey, you the next.
Same question?
Yes, sir.
Can you repeat it again?
Sure.
There's been significant debate over what Navarre Beach improvements are necessary. Do you think any are necessary, and if so, what are they?
Well, I want to be a well-rounded county commissioner, not only just serve in District 3, but be able to serve county-wide. As far as really being up to speed on the question that's being asked, I really don't have a great answer. These two gentlemen here said beach renourishment. I was asked that question before at a board of realtors, I believe. And I believe that we do need to renourish our beaches. We need to keep them looking nice because, let's face it, if we don't bring industry into our area, which I think we need to be doing up for District 3 area to help generate more income from everyone, more tax revenue for the state, is we need to keep our beaches looking nice to draw in the tourists into our area. Do I think there's other projects that we could be doing? Yeah, there's a bunch more. We could be using some of that BPIC money that everybody's been talking about to help with our infrastructure. But as far as with roads and bridges, like 98, every time I do turn a TV on, well, not every time, but a lot of the time you do hear about an accident being involved on Highway 98. So I'd love to see some other projects happening down here in Navarre. I mean, let's face it, that's the way that we're going to build excitement for our area, is to create neat avenues. Thank you.
First of all, you mentioned Commissioner Melvin as the Navarre commissioner. Actually, my district runs.
That's true.
Just all the way to the post office on the south side of 98 in Navarre. Almost made it to my office, but not quite.
Right.
Navarre Beach, I'd look at what we've done over the past 4 years. The county park out there is in great shape, very popular. The Reef Project, a ton of community involvement in that project. That was a long time coming. It's something that was supported by the entire board. And that project came to fruition, and that's going to pay dividends for years in Navarre. The pier has been a rousing success in terms of revenue for the county and a tourist destination. What's next for the beach? The turtle sanctuary that's in the works. I think that is an exciting project for the county, for the beach. How do we fund it? Several different ways. We can fund it through county money, through rec money. It can be funded through NERDA, possibly through Restore Act. And if we get to a question on that, we can talk about the different pots of money that are there.
Thank you, Lane, for answering that question for me. Any other questions? Obviously, we all work closely together on the Board of County Commissioners, and what Lane said is all the projects that we've worked on to enhance Navarre Beach over the last several years. Adding to what Lane said, I would certainly like to see the new hotel built back to draw more tourists to the beach. Also, we got to start working on how to get the traffic on and off the beach. And one of the things we're looking at is expanding the right turn lane coming off that bridge. I still believe that there's an opportunity for Highway 98 bypass. I'd love to be able to see base closure money to help support, pay for that new road.
Thank you, both of you, for asking that question. I think in the future, Navarre is going to decide whether they want to incorporate or not, and that's going to make a huge difference as to what the priorities are. But right now, I see that tourism is one of the big deals for Navarre. The military and the impact that the military has on Navarre area. And I think we need to protect that. And one way to run the military off is to start drilling for oil right off the beaches. So I don't think we need to do that. And I support in the incorporation of Navarre, if that's what the people want to do. It's the beach renourishment. Of course, I think you need to make provisions for that. You need to start rat holing money for renourishment, because that's going to happen every so many years.
I actually served on a commission 2004-2008 that restored that beach. I don't know what y'all did to tear it back down again, but we need to renourish the beach, and we need to have a plan for that, and restore money may be the solution to that. There are continuing beautification projects that I've watched over the years. Navarre needs to continue to do that with the county's help where necessary. You also need to take a look at Navarre water and sewer and long-term effects of the continued destruction that we have along our beaches. There's maybe some need for the restore money to be set aside to protect that entity for y'all, because that water's going to be tough as we go along. And I certainly think if you want it, we need to encourage that hotel to be rebuilt, because it will bring additional tourism, and we certainly need additional tourism.
To keep from being repetitive, I agree with most everything that's been said, but what I hear from a lot of folks is that they don't really want Navarre Beach commercialized that much. They want the natural beauty that's there, and they want to keep that natural beauty. So it's, I think it's a balancing act that we need to continue to work on. I think that a lot of the things that are needed that would support the beach need to be put on the main.
For this roundabout, we'll start with Mark, and you kind of get the flow here real quick. This will probably be a two-part question. What initiatives and incentives do you support to increase the economic base within South Santa Rosa County to create sustainable jobs in this area? And what would you do, and what would you specifically do to ensure these are fully implemented within your tenure? And then what growth in the economic base do you feel is achievable in South Santa Rosa County over the next 2 years?
That's tough. There is there's an item on the ballot now allowing the commissioners some discretion as to some ad valorem issues, and the county can only do so much. I'm hoping that again, I hate to keep being forever hopeful for the Restore Act funds, but the last two parts of that acronym are revived economies. So if that money begins to come in, perhaps we would also have some funds like the state of Alabama, who we have to compete with, for some other types of economic incentives. But I really don't think the county budget has a whole lot of room in it. And the state, so far, except for a grant here and there for infrastructure, has been pretty limited on what they offer us for that. I think a good positive image and a better presence on our economic development entity is where we have to start, and do it quickly.
Jeffrey.
Because you were, I hate to do this, but you.
No, you're fine. Yes, sir. What initiatives and incentives do you support to increase the economic base within South Santa Rosa County to create sustainable jobs in this area? And what will you specifically do to ensure these are fully implemented within your tenure? Also, what growth in the economic base do you feel is achievable in South Santa Rosa County over the next 2 years?
All right. Well, I'm going to start in reverse. With the correct kind of leadership, I believe all of our goals are achievable. I believe what we need to do, if I get elected as Santa Rosa County Commissioner, is that we need to go down there and build our relationship with the governor and with our senators and state senators. That's the only way we're going to be able to get the tax incentives to be able to create a good impact in our area. We see what we're doing is not working. If it was working, there would be jobs here. I live 15 minutes from Alabama. I'll be honest with you, Alabama has it going on. And how I would like to implement some of the programs that I would like to see, if we could get some of these big corporations in here, we're not paying taxes on any land that we own, so why don't we offer some of our land to them? There's also initiatives for electricity. We can give them discounts on their electric that when they come in. We can give them a $10,000 tax credit for each employee, but not just give them everything, make them prove that they can get 50 jobs in here, then give that to them. There's also incentives, say like if hypothetically we want to bring in some big wind turbines, well, let's give them a tax break on that. Alabama is doing it.
Lane.
Thank you. Thank you. Incentives for businesses. We have at the county level, we've adopted a local QTI, Qualified Terminal Targeted Industry Ordinance. It allows us to give retroactive tax breaks to businesses on a per employee basis. The trouble with incentives is we can't compete with Alabama right now. They have, in comparison to Florida, an unlimited pocket. They have a dedicated tax source for incentives, and they have hundreds of millions of dollars available on a yearly basis. What can we do? We need to diversify our economy in Navarre. Look just to the west. Look over in Gulf Breeze and see what their economy has done over the past few years. They have Apriver, they have Avalex, the Andrews Institute has come in. They have a more diverse economy than we do over here in Navarre. I think we need to kind of model after that. We need to target those technology industries, bring them down here to Navarre. We're closer to Eglin. We're closer to Herbert over here. We can capitalize on that. What do we have? We have the education, we have the workforce, we have the environment.
Echoing what Lane said, as a county, we cannot compete with Alabama. The new aircraft plant that went in over there, Alabama kicked in $380 million. Santa Rosa County, I just read the other day, we have the second best local economic development incentives of any county in the state of Florida. Only Sarasota is better than we are. I'd like to see more small business incentives for the south end of the county. South end of the county's future is going to be high tech, like Lane was talking about with Andrews Institute, App River, and Avlex. Here again, need to do more for tourism. You don't want heavy industry down here, so I see it more as a corporate type environment.
I think we need to look at more tax incentives given to us by the state. I don't know that we're tapped out countywide, but I think the state needs to step in also. What we're looking for, I think, in the south end would be clean industry, and again, like App River, Avalax, and Andrews Institute. We visited 7th Special Forces just north of us, and they work very closely with Andrews Institute, and they're training their guys, not rehabilitating, but teaching them how to stretch and how to use their muscles where they won't get injured. But this technology can continue down Highway 98 toward Navarre. I'm not saying that Navarre can't open up one tomorrow, but I think that's the type of industry we need to look for.
I certainly think we need to look at small business incentives and initiatives that we can provide. If we look at 98, until we resolve this big issue with Highway 98's traffic, high-tech industry can come in along 98 corridor, but we're not going to bring industry down here. You can't sustain it. Your road now, Highway 98, is deadly 98, as they say. So I believe we can look to do some initiatives for high-tech industry and small business incentives, and beyond that, I don't see where we can do anything else, and I believe we can put those incentives in place in the next term. Thank you.
I think we need to keep the incentives we have, and we need to work with the state legislature to provide more incentives. Our county is only limited to what resources we have and what things that we can give for as incentives. And also we need to keep a moratorium on impact fees. Impact fees down here have been a deterrent on some businesses who wanted to come into the area. And I think if the economy improves, so will Navarre.
Well, when you're the last guy, most of the thoughts are already been exposed, but I'm a small businessman, and the jobs are being created in the state of Florida in small business. 2/3 of the jobs in the last 15 years created in Florida have come on the backs of small business. So I'm a proponent of small business. I've even, one of the thoughts I have is, as part of our economic development strategy, to create a position that we have a small business coordinator at the county to help small business navigate all the rules, regulations, find grant money, available loans, and so forth.
Jeffrey, this question will start off with you and then we'll run down. Every year, we hear about government working on ways to cut red tape, and now the new catchphrase is speed to market. However, using the most recent example of a current business having an addition onto their building took 18 months for local government planning, zoning, permitting, etc., processing in order to get for a 90-day project build. What would you do in order to reduce this long, drawn-out process?
Well, I'm very familiar with this. Real quick, I'll add this in there as well and then finish up the question. As a small business owner on Highway 90, I went to put up a privacy fence. This is what actually got me started. I knew that we was not business friendly after this. The project was $6,500. I went ahead, the county approved it, said go ahead and start. If it's wood on commercial, you do not need a permit. Go ahead and get started. I started on the project. Code enforcement showed up and said, oh, Mr. Kelly, we told you wrong. You need to come in and have a meeting with us. After I walked out of the meeting, that project went from $6,500, I can't remember the exact figures, to around $60,000 because of all the requirements that the county makes you do. Luckily, I was able to get a variance on it, but everybody in the county told me, no sir, Mr. Kelly, nobody's ever got out of this. But because I had a package together and was able to plead my case, I was able to get out of that. But as far as, I've done run out of time on answering that question, but I just wanted to show you, we can make this streamlining process a whole lot faster. A fella from Gulf Breeze is opening up the yogurt shops. He just called me and said it's 18. There's just not enough time.
This is something that was near and dear to my heart when I took office. I built my office. It's over across the street from Publix on Andorra Street. I built my office back in 2006, so I went through the development process. What we've done over the past 4 years, we've combined our building department and our planning and zoning into the development services department. And now we have a one-stop shop where you can go in and you can meet with all of the people who are going to touch your project from beginning to end. Now, it's not perfect yet, but we're working on it. We've had a ordinance review project that's been ongoing, and we've done away with unnecessary regulations and ordinances at the county level. We have modified our landscaping requirements as an example. You know, neighborhood commercial landscaping requirements were onerous to me. That's what I had, was neighborhood commercial. It cost me tens of thousands of dollars just to landscape my lot, and we have since modified those requirements. We haven't made them any less aesthetically pleasing, but they're easier to comply with. So we're going to continue to do that, continue to review our local ordinances.
Here again, we're constantly reviewing our ordinances. One of the things that I've asked all the chambers of commerce to do is to work closely with our public services department. Many of the regulations that we have to enforce at the local level, they're actually state regulations. I know there's some changes going on at the state level too, but you'd be amazed at the number of regulations that a small business has to comply with that are state regulated. We have to enforce them at the local level. Keep in mind, sometimes a regulation may be challenging for one person, but it protects another person's property next door, like drainage runoff and those kind of things. So there is a place for reasonable regulations, but we're constantly reviewing ours as well.
I think sometimes the county tries to run off business instead of promote it. I've sat on the Board of Adjustment Appeal, again, for the last 15 years. We hear these cases. We hear the cases for adjustment. What I'd like to do is bring in Quint Studer, who has built a multi-million-dollar business just by teaching hospitals how to be number one. They go in and go department to department and teach these folks how to be number one customer service. And I think we could bring that Quint in and do that. I've talked to Quint. He said he would love to do it for Escambia County and so Santa Rosa County because it's definitely needed. And he said the price would be very, very affordable. But I think that we need to be more user-friendly in our county.
When I was in office, I actually had many arguments with our planning and zoning department. I'd fuss at them. They tell me I was the politician. They were the regulators. And I don't have a problem with the regulators. They need to be there because it protects our rights from the neighbor next door when he infringes on them. But I also think they need to recognize that they're county employees and they work for you. That's right. And so the attitude is what counts there. Attitude is everything.
Well, I think we need to continue to streamline the permitting process. As an electrical contractor, I'm very aware of permitting and rules and regulations. But a lot of the rules and regulations are brought down not only from the state, but they're from the national level also. We have a national electrical code that we have to go through that or abide by that is, they redo it every 3 years. So it's constantly changing. But I think on the local level that we can do what's necessary to change these rules and do away with any rules that are unnecessary. We just recently went through the Navarre Town Center plan, and it's now a lot less stringent than what it was in the past.
Well, the first thing I'd say is they should have hired me, and I could have shaved at least 6 months out of that 18-month process, but just kidding. For the most part, I think most of the delays that I encounter when I'm doing a project are the state mandated. stormwater issues, etc. There's really not a whole lot we can do about that, but I obviously would be in favor of any kind of local ordinance review, maybe have it on some kind of a schedule. When you constantly hear of a snag, obviously that's something we should look at. But again, I think some of them are at a state level and there's not a whole lot we can do about that, and Mr. Williamson said also on national level, but the ones that we can do, we need to review and tweak.
I think the 18-month project was Avalex, and that was a change of use, not even construction. That was on the front page of the newsletter for the public services in Milton, and I don't mean it's ugly, but it was almost that they were bragging that it was start to finish in 18 months, and that really is a shame. State of Alabama built Highway 113 4-lane in less time than that. Got an eye doctor friend in Navarre who's been trying to build a new office, and it's so far 4 years into that project. I think we need to ask ourselves on code review, why is something in there? Did the DCA make us put it in? And you know, the DCA has basically been eliminated now, so there are things in that code that don't necessarily belong anymore, or maybe we don't agree with, and perhaps we can revisit that. Thank you.
Lane, this one starts with you. If Holly Field were turned over to Santa Rosa County due to the United States Navy unable to use it any longer, what type of development would you push for on that large piece of property?
I wouldn't push for anything. I would come down here. I think that's something that we would have to get the entire community engaged in. That's a huge piece of property. I don't think the Board of Commissioners should dictate what goes on there. I think that should be dictated by the people who live in Navarre. That's something that would be of utmost importance down here. So that's one of those issues that we would want to discuss at the new community center, where we're going to be holding Board of Commissioners meetings over the next 4 days.
Good answer. Good answer.
I would do the same thing we've often talked about. If Spencer Field up in the Pace area, if we ever got it moved north, what would I do? First thing I'd want to do is probably get a professional developer, because you're talking about 640 acres of property. Get with the community, get input. Those kinds of large tracts of land, they normally make for a good mixed development where you have residential, commercial, and if you ever got Holly, which I'm not sure if you ever will, with all the new missions coming into Eglin, you would probably be able to have some type of little general aviation airport as well.
I think so. Don, you turned it off on me again, didn't you?
Let the Army guy turn it back on for you.
We'll just blow it up. I feel like it should be the will of the people. If that property were to become available, again, it's a large piece of property, so I think through, I guess you form committees and gosh, I don't know what you do with it, to be honest with you. It's such a large piece of property. But I think it should be up to the people what's done with it. I don't think the county commissioners, I think they can help guide, but I can't think they can dictate what goes there.
As we've done with Spencer Field, probably by the time we get Holly, the city of Navarre can decide what they're going to do with it, and it won't be up to us anymore. So it's a local issue, and it should be worked out locally.
I think we need to do a feasibility study for the highest and best use of the property, and I think that you should have input from the community as to what they want to have there.
I agree with what's been said about having the community's input on it. I will point out that we currently have 3 projects that are sitting there doing nothing. We don't have the funding to go forward with them. So I believe you would have to engage a private developer and somehow make a deal with somebody like that, because again, we've already got some projects that are waiting on funding, and this would be just another one.
I hope that issue never comes to to be an issue. I hope the military continue to use it forever, but if that were to be the case, I think obviously it's your community. This community should help decide what is to happen there, whether it be industrial or airport is a good idea. Once those types of opportunities they're fleeting, once they go away, you would never again have the opportunity to put certain things there, including some industrial development. But in particular, as we can see, an airport is very hard to put back into a community. Thank you.
Unless I'm incorrect, I believe if we need to do something with aviation on it, if we do something different, we lose that aviation, the airspace, we may not be able to reclaim that. I'm not quite sure, but I've been doing a lot of reading. I think I'm 100% sure on that. Well, 99%, let me say that, because I could be wrong. But here's the thing. If that was to become vacant, I know that's just a question, we got industrial parks all over Santa Rosa County that's vacant. We need to be worrying about filling those first, is what I think. And the problem is that, you know, I guess I'm the only one that's got any big ideas. Do you think when Alabama first started introducing, hey, we want to do some big jobs, bring big industry in here, I'm sure there were some people sitting at the table saying, Mr. Governor, it can't be done. Well, I tell you what, elect Jeffrey D. Kelly and let's see if we can't make some changes. I ask you this question, citizens of Santa Rosa County, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And you ask yourselves that question.
Don, I think you get the honors on this one. The population between Gulf Breeze and Navarre contributes 40% of the overall tax base to Santa Rosa County, yet many citizens of South Santa Rosa County feel their needs and desires are not proportionately represented within the county as a whole. Were you aware of the level of contribution from these citizens, and what would you specifically do to ensure the concerns of this constituency are both considered and addressed?
Well, here again, I think eventually as the poll goes forward with incorporation, no incorporation, I think that question will be answered. The people I've heard from who are against incorporation, they said they're very satisfied with the services they receive down here. I've been very active in Navarre. I've often been the third deciding vote on many issues in Navarre. So I feel like Navarre is being properly represented now. If not, you need to let me know.
Coach. I live in Gulf Breeze, and of course Gulf Breeze for a long time felt like they were the redhead stepchild. They weren't getting the tax dollars given back to them by the county, and they were contributing so much. And of course, as the south end of the county grew, I'm sure that Navarre has felt the same way, or the south end has felt the same way. But I think through leadership in the county, I think that has momentum has swung toward the south end. I think they're getting a lot more money now. I think they're getting the services. If there are other services you need, then if I were your county commissioner, then I'd be fighting for those services for you.
Would you repeat it, please? Don distracted me. One army guy to the other.
Well, I'm Air Force, so watch out. The population between Gulf Breeze and Navarre contributes 40% of the overall tax base to Santa Rosa County, yet many citizens of South Santa Rosa County feel their needs and desires are not proportionately represented within the county as a whole. Were you aware of the level of contribution from these citizens, and what would you do specifically to ensure the concerns of this constituency are both considered and addressed?
I certainly am well aware of the percentage of taxes that are collected down the south end versus the rest of the county. I think over the years that I served, I actually served with Commissioner Salter for a 4-year period, that we voted many times to support Navarre in various projects. We supported Gordon Gooden's efforts on y'all's behalf many, many times. I think incorporation, I worked with incorporation groups and lectured that in the PACE community. If you're getting good support from your county commissioner, which is your municipality, then don't add another layer of government. But if you're not, a city government gives you home rule. And home rule and some of the taxes that you pay the county come back to you, but that's a local issue. And if I'm re-elected, if I'm elected, I will support Navarre as I have in the past.
I guess my question would be, I keep hearing this from a few people, but I would like to know what services that you're not getting or have not been met. It's only from a few dissatisfied people. I've talked to a lot of people in the last few weeks that live in the area, and they're quite happy with what the county provides, what services they provide. There's a lot of people that don't want to incorporate because they don't want to pay an extra layer of taxes just to have a mayor and a city hall. Most areas incorporate to have water, sewer, police protection, and fire protection. And you've got all those, and you don't have to pay an extra layer of taxes for it. I just don't understand it. The biggest issue I hear in the area is Highway 98. And Highway 98 is a state issue.
Thank you. I actually thought I had heard a number of occasions that it was higher than 40%. But my answer would be that as a commissioner, I would be available and visible to the people in Navarre. And I also think, and this is something I've been talking about in a number of these other forums, is that we're going to have a building, excuse me, down in Tiger Point pretty soon, and we can certainly hold commission meetings there occasionally, as well as I think it would be very important to move the meetings to the evening. Working people can't go to a meeting at 9 a.m. So I'm in favor of moving them to the evening and also having them occasionally down in the south end. Thank you.
I agree. That number is higher than 40%. I'm sure that's the question submitted, but I verified that today. Density is much greater down here than in other areas, perhaps road work and that sort of thing per mile or whatever, more expensive to do down here than it is in other parts of the county. But it is definitely a significant portion of the revenue. And the incorporation issue, I agree with Mr. Williamson, that drive is usually based on services or the lack of services or the need for different ones. Water, sewer, garbage, police, beautification, entertainment, recreation. I think the county commission has gotten and been very good over the years with regard to working around those kind of needs as a county and not as a municipality. But it is an issue that has to be decided by the community, and if that's, we're in America. If it's a majority vote, that's what needs to happen. Thank you.
Well, in business, I believe it's not all me. My Lord and Savior Jesus Christ has given me the ability to be able to lead on the toughest issues and also given me discernment for the smallest personal concerns. And I've been doing this since April of 2010, so I've been out there for a long time to really be able to serve the people of Santa Rosa County. And what I hear from the people, I don't think nobody wants a tax increase. But here's the issue. There's some good people. It's all over Santa Rosa County, and I believe they just want to be heard. That's why they want a voice. That's why that they want to incorporate, from my feelings on it. I could be wrong on some of that. However, though, if Santa Rosa County commissioners would have been doing their job like they should have been doing, there'd be no need for them to be incorporated because, you know, I mean, you do get some choices like you got the future, the direction of the way you want to go with your own city. Fire, water, sewer, your trash. But then you know, you got the higher taxes. I mean, if there's some issues with some of that stuff, like wanting to do a road or some type of drainage project, if I'm not mistaken, you can MSBU.
Don't start yet.
I grew up in Milton. I live in Gulf Breeze. I work in Navarre. We do have a diverse county. And there a lot of times there is a feeling that we kind of get the short end of the stick sometimes down here in the south end. I think that's changing though. You know, we are going to have a place now in the south end where we're going to hold commission meetings. I think that's a big part of it. People in the south end feel that the government is removed from them because, you know, our county seat is up in Milton. That's where all the commission meetings are. That's where all the planning and zoning meetings are. Well, we're going to have a place down here in the south end where you can drive 10 minutes instead of driving 45. And come see us face to face at our meetings. Come to a planning and zoning meeting. I think that's a big part of it. I've worked to do everything I could for my district in the south end. First year I was in office, we approved many recreational projects. We improved every single passive park and active park in District 5. And now we have the, in my mind, the best parks in the county.
It's that south-north competition.
Just want to welcome all the Northerners to the tropics this afternoon, right? Let's see, Pete, you have the honors on this one, and this will be the last question. What and where are your main priorities for Restore Recovery Act projects for Santa Rosa County and the Navarre area? And then where can citizens find written printed material regarding your views on this subject?
I don't have any priorities. I think when the money is allocated, there'll be a council set up, a committee set up, and they will decide where the money goes. And also the state and the federal government, especially the federal government, will be telling us where that money needs to go. Okay.
That's a real good one, because a lot of that money is going to be tied up in federal and state regulations, and we probably won't ever get to make a decision on it one way or the other. But what is left over, and we do have the opportunity to make a decision, my priorities would be beach renourishment, which is a main concern, tourism, and helping those businesses that were most affected by BP oil spill in terms of that lost revenue from tourism, and set aside some of it for the future problems that Navarre Beach and the South End is going to face resulting from the BP oil spill.
And Tom looked over my notes. We will, actually, the commission will be setting up a Restore Council that will report back to the commission on any money it's spent, and we're going to get a diverse group of people to represent that Restore Council, and some of the folks will be from Navarre, I assure you. We do have to have more beach renourishment. We have to protect our natural resources. A lot of it can be used for economic infrastructure, and we certainly have a great need in our county for that because of the property that we own that's not developed.
And I still had 5 seconds left, www.tomforjobs.com.
Shameless pitch. As been said already, the county will have a Restore Council, so to speak. It'll be comprised of people who are in the different businesses of the environment and human health and economic development. And then they'll report and make recommendations to the board on what projects they think need to be funded. One thing I want to point out that I would be in favor of that I haven't heard from anybody else yet is that I wouldn't be in favor of spending all the money right now. I think we should set some aside for some reserves for future needs.
I said that. Main priorities, I think this was obviously an environmental event, terrible, unreal. The first portion of the word, the ecological stuff, environmental stuff, I think will handle itself largely with the federal. A lot of it is federally controlled and state controlled, 35 and 30%. So right away, 65% of the money is going to be used that way. We'll have input, and that's our responsibility as citizens to attend all those meetings, and there are going to be a lot of them coming up when this begins to happen. Public meetings are part of those processes, and generally those kind of things work. Not very many people show up, and very few people make those decisions. The last part of the acronym, tourism opportunities and revived economies, that will be my main priority, because the others I think will take care of themselves. Mark Cotton, 2012.com is for more information.
Well, I'd like to see some of the Restore money go to infrastructure. We need to really build up our infrastructure to even, if we was to be able, once we start getting the incentives that we need to lure business in, we don't really have the roads, the infrastructure, bridges and stuff to even bring them in, because we hadn't been prepared. These kind of ideas should have been done many, many years ago, not starting today or tomorrow. They should have been done yesteryears, a long time ago. the industry and the small business incentives is what we could use. We're talking about small businesses in our area that's just closing left and right. In Milton, the bakery ladies don't went out of business there at the courthouse. We can give franchise fees discounts away. We could say, hey, we could use this money here where the city or the county still gets it, but we just don't apply it to the small business to be able to bring them in. Beach renourishment up in this area, help with our parks and the entertainment that we can have come in down here. Just let's make Santa Rosa County a fun place to live, and vote www.votejdk2012.com.
It's going to be hard for me to do in a minute. I was our county's representative on the 8-county coalition. Regarding ties and the federal government tying our hands or the state government, one thing that the 8-county coalition pushed for, and that was included in the final language of the bill, it says direct to counties. The money that comes to Florida, it comes directly to the county, 75% of it. Over the next 4 years, my priorities are going to be to save the restore money. Nobody talks about that hardly. Ever since the bill passed, we've been getting requests. There's a big push for different projects, different special interests coming forward asking for restore money. We need this. This will change our region for generations if we do it right. The Restore Act has two really important components for the money that comes to the county. One, public input. Two, a multi-year implementation plan. We're going to work over the next 6 months to develop that local Restore Council, and with public input, a multi-year implementation plan. LaneLyncher2012.com.
Somebody just a few minutes ago said how bad Santa Rosa County is. 38,000 new people moved here over the last 10 years, so it must not be too bad. Here again, there's going to be a council made up of people throughout the county. They're going to help give us major direction on what projects we're going to be working on. It's my understanding most of the money will be available for economic recovery and then environmental enhancement. I think we're going to have to use a major portion of the money up front to turn the economy around. I want to see some of it put in reserves, but we got to get started turning the economy around. Here again, Whiting Aviation Park up in the north end, do some great things on Navarre Beach.
You're done.
If y'all notice, they put the Marine between two Army guys.
That's admirable.
Somebody had to keep the two Army guys in check. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We appreciate your time and your service and your opinions, and thank you for letting us to get to know you for some of this.